brethren. Well, I just want to say good morning to everyone. I am Joy Moten Thomas, and I serve as the Assistant Extension Administrator at Fort Valley State University, located in the wonderful city of Fort Valley, Georgia. And I want to welcome each and every last one of you to this training on farm financial literacy. I also want to take the time to thank and appreciate the contributions provided by USDA's Office of Partnership and Public Engagement for making funds available so that this training could be at no cost to each and every last one of you. And I also want to thank the Southern Rural Development Center for making this opportunity available virtually. With that being said, this is a train the trainer opportunity to equip educators like you to become more comfortable with offering farm financial literacy training in your respective states and communities. We want this to be fun. We want this to be interactive because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we are putting efforts in place to educate the nation's farmer in the area of financial literacy. This is a partnership between Fort Valley State University, Alcorn State University, and of course, the Southern Rural Development Center at Mississippi State University. This is actually a adaptation to a program that's offered already by Alcorn State University located in Mississippi, where they do something called the Vendor Borrower Trading Program with FSA borrowers in their state. And what Alcorn has been able to do for us is provide us an opportunity to show us how they offer that training in their state so that we can turn around and offer the similar type training within our state. This is a 3-day training. However, we understand that now that we are operating within a pandemic, many of us are zoomed out. We have Zoom fatigue. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to spread this out with just doing 4 hours a day with 2 breaks. Now, let me talk about breaks. Since we are operating in a virtual environment, at any point in time, you can take a break. But we do have some breaks built in so that you can get up, stretch your legs, check email, or do whatever you need to do to refresh and then re-engage back with us. The topics that we're going to cover over these 3 days include programs and services offered by the Farm Service Agency, especially in the area of farm loans, farm record keeping and budgeting, business planning, credit management, farm inventory, identity theft, insurance, and savings and investment. Many of you who are on the call, this means you survived the pretest. And the pretest was a tool that we wanted to put in place just to see what your knowledge level was prior to going through this training. I also recommend that when you do this training in your state, that you might want to use a pretest tool with your farmers just to see what their knowledge level is before they actually start your training, and then do a post-test to see that if the training that you provided to them provided an increase in knowledge. Those of us that work in extension, we know that that's our primary focus, is to increase the level of knowledge in the individuals that we serve. Throughout the day, I will be monitoring the chat box. So any questions that you have at any point in time, feel free to put your question there. If time allows, at the end of each presentation, we will try to go ahead and address those questions. If for some reason the time runs out, then we will try to address them at the end of the day. Worst case scenario, when we do recaps in day 2 and 3, if there were any questions that were not answered, we will make that a priority to go ahead and answer those questions at the beginning of each day. Hopefully that will be fair to each and every last one of you. Also, I've just mentioned day 2 and day 3. In addition to trying to answer any questions that would be remaining from the previous day, we will also be doing a recap of what happened the day before, just to make sure that we got the information across to you and try to re-emphasize and reinforce what was taught to you. With that being said, if you are willing to complete this 3-day journey with us, there are going to be some good teaching tools that you're going to come away with. Those tools include a record keeping book that Alcorn State University currently uses with their farmers. You will get a hard copy mailed to you. You will also get a coaching guide, which will have every PowerPoint presentation that was presented to you today with notes, so that when you try to do this training at home, you have all of the talking points that you need to use as a cheat sheet until you become comfortable with delivering this information to your audience. The only presentation that will not be in your coaching guide is the presentation that FSA is going to do with us this morning. So with that being said, are there any questions that you guys may have? And I'm going to pause. No response. That's great. Let me just give you the lay of the land of what's going to happen today. Today, we're going to be covering 4 topic areas. We're going to have a presentation from FSA, which is going to be about 30 minutes. We're going to have a presentation on farm record keeping and budgeting. That's going to be 45 minutes. We're going to have a business planning session. That's going to be an hour long. And then we're going to conclude our day with a topic covered of farm inventory, which is going to be 30 minutes. So that's just kind of letting you know what we're going to deal with just today. And then we're going to let you sleep on that. So with that being said, I want to transition into starting the introduction of the fabulous team that we have pulled together to make this training available to you. I am going to introduce our representatives from the Farm Service Agency, as well as our other partner, which I forgot to mention earlier, from the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. So we are a multi-institutional agency team, and we're really excited about the information we have to present to you. First, I want to start off with Mr. Rodney Brooks. Mr. Rodney Brooks grew up in rural South Georgia and worked during the summers as a teen harvesting crops that included tobacco, watermelons, and field peas. He previously served as a farm loan officer for over 10 years, and before that as a temporary worker in the administrative division of the Georgia State Office while attending graduate school. During his undergraduate studies, he interned in the Brooks County field office during summer and Christmas breaks. Rodney attained a Bachelor's of Science and a Master's of Science degree in Agriculture Economics from the Fort Valley State University and the University of Georgia, respectively. Mr. Brooks resides in Leesburg, Georgia, and is married with 2 beautiful children. Thank you, Mr. Brooks, for being here, and we look forward to hearing from you a little later on. Mr. Tarek Boley serves as the National Program Officer and Educational Specialist for the Farm Service Agency in Washington, D.C. He's responsible for providing FSA program assistance to land grant and stakeholders who work with African American farmers and ranchers, urban ag, specialty crop, and organic producers. His assigned program areas for the farm loans and price support. Tarek was formerly a senior farm loan officer in the Direct Loans and Funds Management branch within the loan making division of the Farm Service Agency. Tarek grew up in a rural town called Winsboro, Louisiana. His FSA career began while attending Southern University Agricultural and Mechanical College in Louisiana, where he participated in the Student Career Experience Program and as a farm loan officer trainee, After graduating with a degree in agricultural business, Tarek was offered a position in Stockton, California as a loan officer. In this position, Tarek was able to gain more knowledge, which opened doors to opportunities to obtain positions in Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana state offices before coming to Washington, D.C. Throughout his career, Tarek has served as a state specialist, farm loan manager, and farm loan officer. He has participated in numerous special task forces and agency initiatives in these states. He is also very proud of his commitment to outreach, education, and recruitment programs as a part of his extended duties for the agency. Tarek has assisted in the increased number of applications received for agency employment for students graduating from historically Black colleges and universities. Thank you, Mr. Bowley, for being with us this morning, and I also look forward to hearing your presentation later on this morning. Our third person is Miss Iris Crosby. Since 2011, she has served as a horticulture extension associate with the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. Prior to this role, she served as a horticulturalist at Alcorn State University. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in Plant Science and Soil Science from Tuskegee University and a Master's of Science degree in Horticulture from Mississippi State University. Thank you, Ms. Crosby, for being with us. At this time, I would like to turn the platform over to Mr. Reed and allow him to introduce his team from Alcorn State University. Thank you.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you greetings from the wonderful state of Mississippi. I have on my team, first of all, Ms. Carolyn Banks. She is our agriculture business management specialist here at Alcorn State University. Her area of expertise is covered farm and financial management here at the university. She has been employed here at Alcorn for about 15 years. She does an excellent job of providing financial literacy to our clientele. We have new on our staff, Mr. Anthony McCarty, who's recently joined with us. He's now our extension outreach educator. He has recently come to us from retirement. He retired from USDA Farm Service Agency. Well, should I say he started with them when they were, the old Farmers Home Administration, but now it's Farm Service Agency. But he has been with them for like maybe 34 years. I myself now work as Director of Special Projects here at Alcorn State University. I've been at Alcorn now going on 21 years. I worked prior to that working with Prairie University for about 7 or 8 years. So between the three of us, we have about 75 years of farm and financial literacy experience to provide for you today. We look forward to working with you guys for the next 3 days.
Thank you, Mr. Reed, for introducing us to your team. And at this time, I am going to go ahead and start off and load our presentation from FSA. So as we stand by, I ask Mr. Bowley and Mr. Brooks, you guys are up to bat. Hold on one second as I pull up your presentation.
Good morning. I want to thank you all for having us on the program this morning. Hopefully we're able to share some information that's going to be beneficial to you all and the constituents that you serve. Next slide, Ms. Joy, please. What is FSA? The Farm Service Agency, commonly referred to as FSA, is a two-pronged agency. On the program side, we provide certain types of loans, payment programs, price support, conservation programs, and disaster recovery assistance. The other prong is our farm loan programs, where we provide credit to farmers and ranchers who are unable to obtain credit elsewhere. If you are a farmer or rancher and are unable to secure financing to start, purchase, or sustain your family farm, you may be able to get funding from FSA. Next slide. Okay. At FSA, we have several different loan types, depending on your situation and your needs. We have loan officers and loan managers available to assist you with the application process. For the purpose of today's meeting, I will speak briefly on our guaranteed loan program, but go a little more in depth on our direct loan programs. With our guaranteed farm loan, the lender is FSA's customer, not the loan applicant or the potential borrower. Guaranteed loans are the property and responsibility of the lender. The lender and the loan applicant complete the application for guarantee and submit it to the FSA Service Center in the lending area. The Service Center works with a commercial lender to process the guarantee. FSA can guarantee the lender up to 95% of the eligible loan amount in cases where the borrower defaults and are unable to fully repay the loan. Like our direct loan program, there are guaranteed form ownership loans and guaranteed form operating loans. The types and eligible purposes of these guaranteed loans mirror the direct loan program, which I will address shortly. In addition to the form ownership and form operating loans, there are also conservation loans under the guarantee program. FSA conservation loans are for implementing conservation practices approved by the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS. These practices are reducing soil erosion, improving water quality, and promoting sustainable and organic agricultural practices. The maximum outstanding guaranteed loan amount is $1,766,000. We also have our direct loan program, and like I stated earlier, which have form ownership loans and form operating loans. Under the form operating loan umbrella, we have microloans and youth loans. And in addition, we have emergency loans. We also have farm storage and facility loans. These loans are handled by our program side, not our farm loan side, but I will address those as well. Next slide, please. We're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into our direct loan programs. Our farm ownership loans may be used to purchase a farm, enlarge an existing farm, construct new farm buildings, and/or improve farm structures, pay closing costs, and promote soil and water conservation and protection. Down payments are authorized as a loan purpose, subject to some additional criteria. For these additional criteria, please consult with your local loan approval official. Additionally, loan funds can be used to make capital improvements to a farm owned by the applicant for construction, purchase, or improvement of farm dwellings, service buildings, or other facilities and improvements essential to the farming operation. In the case of leased property, the applicant must have a lease to ensure the use of improvement over its useful life, or to ensure that the applicant receives compensation for any remaining economic life upon termination of the lease. Farm ownership funds can be used also to purchase, improve, or build any type of structure, including a dwelling that either adequately meets family needs and is modest in size, cost, and design, provided the structure is related to the farming enterprise. The dwelling shall be located on the farm when the farm ownership funds are used to purchase the dwelling. However, if the applicant already owns a dwelling located close to the farm, farm ownership funds may be used to repair or improve that dwelling. Funds may also be used to pay closing costs, but may not be used to pay loan packaging or consultant fees associated with applying for or obtaining an FSA loan. Funds may also be used to promote soil and water conservation and protection. Examples include the correction of hazardous environmental conditions and the construction or installation of tiles, terraces, and waterways. All soil and water conservation projects are subject to additional limitations. Under the farm ownership loan program, repayment terms must be the minimum period of time that a projected ability to repay will allow. Loan terms are considered in 5-year increments with a maximum length of 40 years. All notes are scheduled with annual payments. The minimum scheduled annual payment for the first 5 years must be the interest accrued on their principal balance. The applicant must be informed that no reduction will be made in principal when an interest-only payment is scheduled. FSA typically considers such payments when a farming operation is new and not fully developed, but will have a future income stream. One example of such an operation is establishing an orchard. Interest rates are fixed based on the current rate at the submission of the application or the date of closing, whichever is lower. Interest rates may also vary by month, and the current interest rate on the farm ownership loans are 2.25%, and the maximum loan amount for a farm ownership loan is $600,000. Next slide, please. There are 2 types of farm operating loans. We have an annual loan and we have a term loan. Annual farm operating loans may have a maturity date from 12 to 18 months, while term operating notes may mature up to 7 years. Annual farm operating loans may be used for farm operating expenses, including, but not limited to feed, seed, fertilizer, pesticides, farm supplies, repairs and improvements, which are to be expensed, cash rent, and family living expenses. Annual farm operating loan funds may also be used for scheduled principal and interest payments on term debt, provided the debt is for authorized farm ownership and operating loan purposes. The payment must be the current year's installment and cannot be delinquent. Funds can be used to finance the initial processing of agricultural commodities, provided that a majority of the agricultural commodities processed or produced by the applicant's farm. An example of this would be allowable processing activities include, but are not limited to, canning tomatoes and packaging maple syrup. There are some additional lesser used purposes, but check with your local loan approval official regarding these. Term operating loans may be used for chattel and other purchases, which include livestock, which also include poultry, farm equipment, quotas and bases, cooperative stock for credit, production, processing, or marketing purposes. Funds may be used for purchases essential to the success of the farming operation only. Costs associated with reorganizing a farm to improve its profitability are also eligible purposes. Reorganizing the farm means changing enterprises, production practices, marketing methods, or other parts of the farm business to enhance the viability of the farm. Examples of acceptable use of loan funds under this provision include, but are not limited to, the purchase of equipment to convert from conventional to no-till production, change from stocker to cow-calf production, shifting from row crop to vegetable production, purchasing grain drying and storage equipment to facilitate better marketing, and purchasing shares and value-added processing marketing cooperatives. Repayment terms on these loans are typically 5 to 7 years. Interest rates are again fixed, and the current rate for the farm operating loans is 1.25%, and the maximum loan amount is $400,000. Now, we'll go back to the microloan. FSA developed the microloan program to better serve unique financial operating needs of new, niche, and small to mid-sized family farms operations. Microloans offer more flexible access to credit and serve as an attractive loan alternative for smaller farming operations, like specialty crop producers and operators of community-supported agriculture, or CSAs. These smaller farms, including non-traditional farm operations, often face limited financing options. Like our regular direct and guaranteed loans, farm operating loans and farm ownership loans are available as microloans as well. The microloans are issued to the applicant directly from FSA. Operating microloans can be used for all approved operating expenses authorized by the FSA operating loan program. Ownership microloans may also be used for all approved expenses authorized by FSA Farm Ownership Loan Program. The maximum loan amount for microloans is $50,000, and the application process is streamlined to make it easier for the applicant to complete. FSA also makes loans to individual young persons to start and operate income-producing projects of modest size in connection to their participation in 4-H clubs, FFA, a tribal youth group, or similar agricultural youth organizations. The project being financed with an FSA youth loan needs to provide an opportunity for the young person to acquire experience in education and agriculture-related skills. The youth loan application requires a recommendation from a project advisor who verifies that he or she will sponsor the loan applicant, has the correct training and experience to supervise the project, and is available to help whenever needed. If the student is between the ages of 10 and 20 years at the time of loan closing, a parent or a legal guardian must consent to the loan application. Young people applying for this youth loan are personally responsible for repaying that loan, not their parents. So if this young person signs that note, he or she is solely responsible for paying this money back, not mom or dad, grandma or grandpa. So it's a perfect opportunity to teach young people financial responsibility at an early age. Also, we have emergency loans. The emergency loan program is triggered when a natural disaster is designated by the Secretary of Agriculture or a natural disaster emergency is declared by the President under the Stafford Act. These loans help producers who suffer qualifying farm-related losses directly caused by the disaster and the county declared or designated as a primary disaster or quarantine area. Also, farmers located in counties that are contiguous to the declared, designated, or quarantined area may also qualify for emergency loans. For production losses, a 30% reduction in a primary crop in a designated or contiguous county is required. Losses to quality, such as receiving a 30% reduced price for flood-damaged crops, may be eligible for assistance as well. Emergency loans may be used to restore or replace essential property, pay all or part of production costs associated with the disaster year, pay essential family living expenses, reorganize the family farming operation, or to refinance certain non-real estate operating debts. Next slide, please. The Farm Storage Facility Loan Program provides low-interest financing so producers can build or upgrade facilities to store commodities. Eligible commodities include grains, oilseeds, peanuts, pulse crops, hay, honey, renewable biomass commodities, fruits and vegetables, floriculture, hops, maple sap, milk, cheese, yogurt, butter, eggs, meat and poultry, which of course are unprocessed, rye, and aquaculture. Eligible facility types include grain bins, hay barns, bulk tanks, and facilities for cold storage. Drying and handling and storage equipment is also eligible, including storage and handling trucks. Eligible facilities and equipment may be new or used, permanently affixed, or portable. The Farm Storage Facility Loan Program is an excellent financing program for on-farm storage and handling for small and mid-sized farms, and for new farmers as well. Loan terms vary from 3 to 12 years, and the maximum loan amount for the storage facilities is $500,000. The maximum loan amount for storage and handling trucks is $100,000. In 2016, FSA introduced a new loan category, just like our direct loans, the microloan program, for loans with an aggregate balance of up to $50,000. In this case, microloans offer a 5% down payment requirement compared to a 15% down payment requirement for a regular farm storage facility loan, and waive the regular 3-year production history requirement. The current rates for the farm storage facility loans are 0.125% for a 3-year loan term, 0.25% for a 5-year loan term, 0.5% for a 7-year loan term, 0.75% for a 10-year loan term, and 0.875% for a 12-year loan term. The Farm Storage Facility Loan Program, again, is not administered by the farm loan programs, but instead the county executive director on the program side will handle the farm storage facility loan requests that are made. Next slide, please. Here you will see a list of some closing documents that are required when closing a FSA farm loan. The promissory note, which is very essential. Once you sign that note, be sure that you read it and understand fully that you're required to repay this money at the rates and terms that you agreed to. We also have the security agreement, which lists the security that FSA has taken that collateral position on and how the uses of that security will be done. In certain cases where real estate is taken as collateral as well, you will be required to sign a real estate deed. We also have the for use of proceeds and security. This relates, let's say, if you're growing cotton, corn, we're going to list the projected amount of income to be received from these crops and how that money is to be used whether or not it's going to be used to pay back the operating note, or whether or not some other agreement has been made to use some of those proceeds to be applied towards a term debt that you have with FSA. We have the notification of loan approval and borrower responsibilities. This is a detailed document that lets the applicant know all of the requirements and responsibilities that he or she has undertaken in receiving a loan with FSA. We also have the agreement to complete training. If you're new to FSA and you're required to take borrower production and financial management training, this document right here gives you 2 years to have that training completed. We also have the assignment of payment. This document is used whenever you have any FSA program payments that are being taken as security as well. You assign those payments over to FSA for the farm loan purposes. And last, we have the assignment of indemnity for crop insurance purposes. So this document lets you know that if for some reason you received a crop insurance payment due to whatever the case may be, FSA will have an assignment on those payments as well. I want to thank you for your time, and I'll pass it over to Terry to talk about our outreach programs.
Thank you, Rodney. Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for inviting us to be a part of this workshop. Again, I'm Tarek Bowling, and I'm the National Program Outreach and Education Specialist for FSA. So an important part of outreach is that we do as an agency is stakeholder relationship building. One of the benefits to having those strong partner connections is that you all can help us with bridging the gap and reaching producers that may not be coming to our offices or familiar with FSA yet. You can help us by providing additional time and attention and technical assistance for producers, and also sharing that valuable information that can support the goals of their operation. Before I go into the ways you can work with our offices, I'd like to share with you some insights on the purposes of our outreach efforts. Outreach efforts, our objective in outreach is to basically expand awareness and delivery of FSA programs and services and increase the participation of farmers and ranchers, producers and landowners in FSA program with targeted efforts made to those who are underserved. That would include ethnic minority farmers, women farmers and ranchers, new and beginning farmers, as well as farmers who have never participated in our program. Our staff also works with other USDA agencies. We will also work with federal and state agencies, community-based and faith organizations. We work with grower associations, cooperatives. We also partner with 1862 and 1890 land grant universities. We also work closely with 1994 tribal colleges and universities, as well as Hispanic serving institutions. And we help provide technical assistance, training, and enhanced program delivery to share agricultural commodities. So our national outreach office works with the national level stakeholders and partners, and we offer guidance and resources to organizations that work with our target audiences. Through the partner feedback and identifying program barriers, our office is able to make policy recommendations with agency leaders. But our main goal is to provide guidance to the 2,124 field FSA offices on outreach and working with partners in their states and counties. Here are the ways you can partner with our state and outreach coordinators, especially during this pandemic. Co-hosting webinars. FSA's outreach coordinators are available to assist and provide program resources and materials that can tailor content to specifically what's relevant in your area and to the farmers and ranchers you serve. We encourage you to work with them to develop webinars, virtual meetings, or on offline hours, office hours, where you can host a Zoom meeting or Facebook Live event for producers in your state and ask FSA to join. An FSA employee can attend with you and serve as a technical expert and answer any questions regarding FSA programs and services. As an agency, we also can get the word out more broadly by utilizing both FSA and the partner organizations' communication channels. Sources we use every day like newsletters, web pages, social media, live streams, radio spots, and things of that nature. And all of that is helpful in reaching as many people as possible. Another idea we are encouraging is for partners that work on the ground in their communities to communicate and work with state and local FSA staff to help us identify communication and producers that do not have access to computer or internet, to ensure that we can meet them where they are, provide resources and program materials. There are a number of USDA funded partner organizations that have been approved to provide technical assistance to underserved farmers and ranchers. And with their help, we can increase assistance to those that are unable to access information electronically. We are asking for your assistance in helping your state's outreach coordinators to identify those producers to ensure that they receive program applications and can apply if they so choose. Next slide, please. So if you want to keep up with the latest with our FSA outreach, this is a way you can do so. You can subscribe by going to www.fsa.usda.gov/subscribe. You can enroll, and they'll have several options, and you can select outreach and education. And please share this information with your partners that you deal with on a daily basis. Please share that information. We update our information pretty frequently, and there's some valuable information on all the USDA programs as well as FSA programs on there as well. All right, and this is myself and Rodney's contact information. And if you want to learn more about any of our beginning farmer and rancher programs, this is the site below, usda.gov/new farmers. And if you want to learn anything about outreach as well as other programs, you can go to farmers.gov, and it should be an S on the end of farmer. So it's www.farmers.gov/connect. And I'll put that in the chat just in case you all want to reach out and utilizing that information. And again, thank you all for your time, and I'll pass it back over to Joy. Thanks, Joy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brooks and Mr. Bowley, for that presentation. I do have, and you guys actually had 45 seconds left on the timer, and it's gonna still go off, but there was a question, gentlemen, that's in the chat. Oh, Rodney's already responded to it, but Rodney, if you don't mind just sharing it with the group. The question was, does the farm storage facility's microloan balance count towards the direct OL microloan limit of $50,000?
No.
It does not. Those are two separate programs. The direct microloan, of course, is administered by the farm loan programs, has a maximum of $50,000, but you're also eligible to apply for a farm storage facility loan, microloan of $50,000 as well. One thing I would like to note under our microloan program, so let's say hypothetically you have a $50,000 microloan, and you want to come back and borrow a subsequent loan from FSA. You will no longer be eligible for a microloan on that subsequent loan because your outstanding loan balance will exceed $50,000. So you would then have to apply for a regular direct loan in order to receive any type of assistance.
And Mr. Brook, what does OL stand for? I'm sorry. Oh, it's an operating loan. That's what.
Yes,
OL
ma'am. The operating loan. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the clarification. Okay. What I would like to do, Catherine, if you're ready, I just wanted to put a poll out to the group. I was supposed to do that in my introduction, but I just got so excited about the training that I overlooked this. I wanted to poll our audience to see how many of you already have some type of farm financial literacy program that you offer in your state and or community. So if you just take a second, go ahead and answer that quick question. So of our audience, we have approximately 68% of this audience that has some type of financial literacy training for farmers, and 32% that does not. Okay. So I will share as we transition into our business planning presentation that's going to be done by Anthony McCarty. I will say that our FSA National Office team members, Mr. Bowley and Mr. Brooks, will be hanging around with us for the next 3 days. So if you do have questions that you might think of, feel free to put it in the chat. If they are online, they will gladly respond. If not, I will reach out to them via email and ask them to come back on and respond to those questions. So just be aware that you have access to USDA FSA personnel throughout the 3 days of this training. With that being said, we're going to move into our business planning presentation. Mr. McCarty, are you ready?
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Anthony McCarty. I'm the Extension Outreach Educator for the Alcorn State University Extension Program, School of Agriculture and Applied Sciences. This morning, we're going to be talking about building a sustainable business, a guide to developing a business plan for farms and rural businesses. Next slide. Next slide. And I think we've already talked about, there you go, next slide, because we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on that. All right. In this session overview, the goals of this business plan training is to provide each of you with one, a general overview of the farm business planning process, and two, a basic understanding of the farm business plan. Now, I want to say right here to everybody, my training, my teaching, my presentation is going to be addressing the fact that I'm talking to individuals who work with farmers, but then I'm also going to be trying to instill knowledge about farm business planning to each and every one of you individually. So my purpose is twofold here. Therefore, sometime I'll be talking about the actual process of business planning. And then there are times when I'll be sharing with you a way to try to communicate this to the farmers that you work with. And the reason I say that is because I was retired and I had done 34 years and I was good, actually, to be honest with you. But when this opportunity came up to work with farmers, I realized that my passion for working with farmers hadn't gone away. And I retired in 2017, so this had been like 3 years. And there was something still down inside of me that I felt like I still had a little more gas in the tank. I still had something that I could offer to try to help farmers to move their operation to the next level. That was my passion. What am I saying? I'm saying I wasn't doing it for money. I like getting paid like anybody else, absolutely, but that's not my motivation. And that shouldn't be your motivation when you're working with farmers. And the reason I say that is because when we start talking about business planning, it's more than just a document that you use to try to help farmers get money. A business plan is not just a balance sheet, cash flow, income and expense statement, 3-year history, production history, 3 year of expense. It's more than that. And if all we're doing is communicating to farmers that we need to do a business plan because FSA wants, we need to do a business plan because your local lender needs it, or you need it for a guaranteed loan. And if that's the only reason, that would be the equivalent of me telling my wife, I'm only with you because you look good. That's the only reason I'm married to you. I don't care nothing about you other than you look good. And that's the reason I'm here. How many, you know I won't be married long, don't you? And the same way with that farm business, if the farmer thinks that all that business plan training is to help him to get money, then he's sadly mistaken. And we do an injustice. Now, it is important to know about business planning. And here's why. Next slide, please. This slide that's coming up is a slide that I took directly from the FSA website. And basically what it is they provide, and this is part of transparency, they provide us with their funding allocations and the use of those funds. Now, the government runs from October 1 through September 30th of the next year. They run on a fiscal year. They don't go by a calendar year. They go on a fiscal year. And here's the thing. If you go down to where it says targeted funds on the chart and go all the way across to where it says total unused funds, I want you to understand something. As extension service working with farmers who tell us, well, I need money to buy a tractor. I need targeted money is for beginning farmers. Targeted money is for social disadvantaged farmers. Targeted funds is for your women farmers. And yet, in the fiscal year of 2020, there was over just a little under $600 million left on the table. I didn't do my job, something I didn't do right. If I left $600 million on the table that the government set aside and said, here you go. Go out there, find the farmers, help them to put together their business plan and turn it into our office, here's $600 million that was left on the table. I also pulled, it's not on that chart there, but I also went and pulled one this morning before I started our presentation, and targeted funds for this year is $1,160,510,935 dollars. And what they've used so far up through October the 15th, as of this report, they've used $13 million of their targeted, well, about $13,350 of their targeted funds. So what am I saying? I'm saying it's not a waste of time putting together these, and I hit, it's not going to go through. I'm not going to get it, but that's not true. Yeah, you're doing right. Next slide. And so what I'm saying is, the next slide. You there? Yeah, there you go. So what we're going to do is talk to you today about building a sustainable business. This is a guide to developing a business plan for farms and rural businesses. Now, let's get our prerequisites out of the way. This is available online. There's the website, and I think, has everyone received a book, this presentation, or is this something we're going to send out to them? Okay, well, this is the website that you can go to download this particular workbook. This is what we're going to be using today. But this workbook is actually designed to talk about not just trying to get money. It is your roadmap. It's kind of like a GPS. You know, nowadays when you get lost, you know, you used to have to, you had to own a map. You had to open it up and find where you're going. Now, if I'm trying to find my way around, all I got to do is say, Joy, do me a favor, just text me the address. And when she does, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it in my GPS. And that GPS is gonna guide me from where I am right now to where it is that I'm trying to get to, the address that I put into my GPS. And that's what that's okay. And that's when I told you I was gonna break it out. That's part of your job, and that is communication. Communication, how do you take the information that I'm presenting to you and you communicate it to that farmer in a way that they can relate to, something that's relevant to them, so that it doesn't sound, because here's why. If I present this to you and I say, well, what's the purpose of your business plan? And I read, the business plan is very important. It is like a roadmap that shows you how you will move from where you are now to where you want your operation to be in the future. The good business plan that describes your financial and operational goals will help you to see. You see what I'm saying? If I present that to you, you're not gonna get it, and if you present it to your farmers, they're not gonna get it as well. You have to communicate this information. So I'm gonna share the information with you to try to, you know, I want you to know about business planning. But by the same token, I want you to be able to effectively articulate and communicate this information to your farmers so that they don't get caught up in, Oh, that's just too much paperwork. I'm not going to get caught up in all of that. I'd rather not get the loan if I got to go through all that. And I'm going to share something with you about that. Next slide. I'm going to share something with you about that. Right. Here's our definition of a business plan. This is the definition. A business planning is an ongoing problem-solving process that can identify business challenges, opportunities that apply to your marketing, operational, human resources, and finances, and develop strategic objectives to move your business beyond its current situation towards your future business vision. What did I just say? All I said was getting your farm from where it is right now to where you want that farm to be. You have a vision, you have a goal, you have an idea, or your farmers do. They have a vision, they have a goal, they have an idea on where they want their farm to be. And what we have to do is listen to where it is that they're trying to go, as opposed to trying to tell them what they need to do before we understand where it is they're trying to go. We're good about you need to, your record keeping is just not good. We need to do your record keeping. You need to do a better job on your farm inventory. You need to, but before we can suggest, we have to analyze and we have to do an assessment before we can make recommendations. And so the business plan is not a isolated document where once you complete it, then all you're going to do is just close it up and file it away until you need it again to go back into the FSA office. It is something that you're going to need out on your work, on your desk, in your farm vehicle, truck, wherever, every day, because that business plan is going to help you to be able to stay on track. It's like that GPS, that's what I've said, to get you from where you want to go, from where you are now to where you want to go. And we're going to talk about the next slide. Now we're going to talk about the 5 planning tasks associated with developing the plan. Hold right there. Now, the 5 tasks is basically the equivalent of, and now I'm talking to you as the instructor. You're gonna be teaching this class one day. Painting a room is just more than taking paint on a roller and painting a room. You have what they call prep work or preparation before you can paint. If it's a room that has furniture in it, you have to get all the furniture out the room. You got to put a drop cloth down on the floor. Take the pictures off the wall. And if in taking the pictures off the wall, there was some type of hole or some type of damage on the wall, you got to get some spackle. And you got to patch those holes up and get them prepared. You might have to get some painter's tape, put it around the windows to keep paint from getting on the window, the glass window frame, and all of that is preparation. Has nothing to do with painting. And yet it has everything to do with how the job looks when you finish painting. You have to complete those 5 tasks first before you sit down and start writing a business plan. So now, what is task 1? Task 1 says, identify values or what's important to you. And why would I stop? And I'm talking about writing a business plan. And the first thing I'm talking about are values. What happened to, you need to sit down and do an inventory. Let's list what all you have already on hand. Let's do a educational inventory to see what knowledge, skills, base you already have, and what do you, no, why am I starting with values first? Why am I not sitting down doing a cash flow budget? Why am I not sitting down doing an income and expense statement? Why am I not helping you to gather the last 3 years of your tax return? Because none of that matters until we identify values. There's a guy named Dan Cathy and the Cathy family. They own a chain of restaurant called Chick-fil-A. He's the chairman and he's the CEO. And his values was that, look, I'm going to church on Sunday. And if I go to church on Sunday, guess what? My employees, now they may not go to church on Sunday, but they're not going to come into work. I'm shutting down on Sundays. Why? Because that's one of my, he's not telling McDonald's to close on Sunday. He's not telling nobody else to close. He said, that's my value. And if I'm successful at the expense of compromising my value, then that's not success. Success has to incorporate or express the value of that farm. If it does not, now some farm, their values might be family. I got grandkids, I got kids, I want to be at their ball game, I want to be this, that. Then you might not want to go on the dairy farm. Why? Because it's so demanding. Every day you got to be out there milking cows. So you may want to look at something that's going to allow you the opportunity to be able to, you may not make it every time, but you still need to be able to identify those values, because those values are going to help you to understand how to establish really your mission statement, because your mission statement has reflect your values. Okay. Okay. The next slide, please. Thank you. Okay. Farm history and the current situation about what you got. Why is that important? That's where if you're not farming, this is your first time farming, your farm history may not be all that detailed. But if you have been farming, or the person you're working with has been farming a while, then they may want to know something about that. Why? Because of the history, the traditions. They may want to try to farm according to the traditions of their fathers, their grandfather, their great-grandfather. They don't want to be the one to lose everything. But we're going to eventually talk about succession planning. And it may be that when they get into that stage where now I'm thinking about passing my farm on, I can't pass this farm on and then require that my child hold to the old values and traditions. They may want to do something altogether different, and that's a whole different process. But you got to know your history, and you got to know your current situation, and that's when you start talking about, let me do inventory. Let me see what I already have to start working with. I don't know the number of times I've been, I'm talking about working with FSA, and I've had individuals to come in and they'll say, I want the limit back then was 300, 600 like it is now. $300,000. I said, yes, sir. And what are you going to do? I need to buy tractors. Okay. I need to buy seed, chemical, fertilizer. Okay. I don't even own the land. I'm leasing the land. I need to be able to pay my rent. And since I'm going to be farming, I'm not going to be able to work. I'm going to be working, I'm on the farm full time. I need family living expenses. And I also need, I say, okay, time out. Let's look at your balance sheet. Let's see what you have on your balance sheet. Nothing. What do you mean? I don't have anything. So you want FSA to put everything up? Yes, sir. That's what you, or what's going to be the collateral? Well, you bought the tractor, so the tractor will be your collateral. Or you got the money into the crop's going to be your collateral. And so farmers don't understand that FSA or any farm credit or any other lender, these are not what they call venture capitalists. See, a person that offers what they call venture capital, yeah, you don't have to have nothing, but by the same token, they're going to take a percentage of ownership in that business, and they're going to put their people in there to help manage that company to make sure that they net up the required return on their investment. But FSA or Farm Service Agency, Farm Credit, your other local ag lenders, PCA, they aren't venture capitalists. Those are loans that have to be adequately secured. So you have to know, what do you have? Because if you don't have what it takes to meet those minimum lending requirements, now you need to look at crawling before you walk. What do you mean crawl for? The microloan. Microloan, you don't have to have that much experience. Microloan, you may not have to have that much equity and equipment and that sort of thing. It's limited to $50,000, but it'll get your foot inside the door. So you need to know your history. You need to know your current situation. Okay, next slide, please. All right, here we go. Vision, mission, and goals. Now we down to it. You see what I'm saying? You went from you start off with values, then you went from values, you came on over to the history, knowing your history. know something. I need to know something about it. If I didn't know anything about my history, where I came from, mistakes of the past, I'm probably going to end up making those same mistakes going forward. So my vision then has to be very clear. It has to be what vision does is it helps the farmer to stay focused. Because everybody's gonna be coming, girl, if I was you, I'd do this. Man, if I was you, I'd do that. Why don't you do this here? This is what I did. Man, guess what they doing? They doing this over here at Alcorn. They doing this here at Fort Valley. They do, well, no. You've got to be able to say, all that's good for Fort Valley, that's good for Alcorn, that's good for this man across the street, down the road. Here's what I'm getting ready to do for my farm. As for me and my farm, we're gonna farm this way. That came out of a book. I ain't gonna tell you where that book that came from. It's a good book, tell you. Vision, mission. You have to have a mission statement. That mission statement helps you to be rooted and grounded so that, because everything may not necessarily go like you originally planned. It may not go like you want it to go, but you have to keep your mission in mind. Why? Because the first thing that's gonna come to your mind is, I wanna jump ship. I wanna go in a different direction. And it's tempting to go in a different direction, okay? But sometimes you just have to stay the course and see it through, okay? And then establish goals. Those goals help you to know whether or not you move in the direction that you want to go in, okay? And we're gonna talk about this some more on, but let's go to 4. Plan task 4 is just strategic planning and evaluation. And there you go. After you've done the research, you've done all of your, you know what your values are, you know what the vision is, you know what your mission is, you know about your farm history. Now you're ready to address all of those concerns. Now we're talking about strategic planning and evaluation, not just planning, but then you have to weigh or measure the success or the challenges for that year. Did I meet my goals? If I said I was going to sell my cow at 550, 600 pounds, and for whatever reason, you ran into a problem trying to buy feed, pasture, you had some problems with your pasture, your weight gain wasn't what you want to be, okay, fine, document it. But then now you need to do an evaluation to find out why, what do I need to do to mitigate or to prevent those same things from becoming barriers in the future? Yeah, they hindered me this year, but now what do I need to do? One of the things that caught everybody off guard was COVID-19. Who knew? Who knew it was coming and who knew it was going to last this long? And everybody had to adjust. We're doing this right here based on COVID. Otherwise, we probably would be physically in a location conducting this training. All of this is part of that evaluating and then reworking how we still trying to get the information. We can just shut down and say, well, that's all for extension service. Shut it down. Why? COVID, can't do nothing. No, you got to find another way to get it done. And that same way in your farming operation. When something doesn't go right, you can't deny it. And what I mean by deny it, well, that's FSA fault. They didn't give me my money in time. They didn't give me enough money. Oh, that's them folk across the street. Look how much they charge me for these seeds. And so, yes, it's always somebody else's fault when you don't want to accept responsibility for yourself. It is never your fault when you refuse to accept that you had a role to play in it. I have a friend, and he always tells me it gets on my nerve, but he forces me to look inwardly instead of outwardly. And he said, well, now you know that's your fault. And that's his favorite saying. I don't even tell him about the problems I have during the course of the day. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who did this or who did what. His whole thing is, Anthony, that's your fault. What? How is this not? That's your fault. And what he's basically saying is because you so busy focusing on who mistreated you or what didn't go right instead of focusing on what do I need to do to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. As long as you look at it from the standpoint of seeing it as a learning opportunity, then it wasn't a bad opportunity. You know not to do that no more. Number 5. Now we ready. There we go. That's present, implement, and monitor your plan. In other words, which route will you take and how will you check your progress along the way? And this is where you actually, all that research from task 1, task 2, task 3, 4, all that, you pull it together in 5. That's where you pull together the actual plan itself. However, before you do that, you got to go over. Well, let's go. I want to go over my plan task summary right quick. Let's go to my summary. Next slide, please. I'm sorry. Okay. So, what did we talk about? And I'm gonna try and do something. I don't know how it's gonna work out. All of the things we discussed are here in our summary. Do I have a brave soul out there that want to tell me what your takeaway is from item 1? Any brave soul out there? I need some feedback. Anybody? Somebody? Item 1. Identify values. Anybody? Going once.
Well, just like you mentioned, Anthony, for the owner of Chick-fil-A, you know, he identified what was important for him, and therefore he did not allow his employees to work on Sunday. So for a farmer or for someone who's getting started in their planning, they've got to identify what's important to them. Is it family? If so, as you mentioned, maybe dairy cattle is not for you. Traveling, is that important? Maybe you shouldn't be a poultry farmer. So the farmer needs to first identify their unique values that they have and decide what's important.
Absolutely. All right, number 2, review history and take stock of your current situation. Anybody?
One thing that you may want to consider is the type of capital you have to work with when you initially start your business or your farming business. So that's one way that you can take stock of your current situation, by observing the funding that you have to start your business with, the capital that you have to start your business with.
Awesome, awesome. Number 3, clarify your vision. Now I'm gonna break this down into 3 different parts. I want one person to take vision, I want another person to take mission, and another person to take goals. All right? Anybody?
I can answer that. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the vision would generally be the overall idea of what you want to achieve ultimately by doing all these things as it relates to the business plan.
Okay.
So, yeah. So how, you know, what you'd like to see happen in terms of, you know, your overall, you know, revenue generation, what you'd like to see in terms of expansion purposes or anything in that regard, just something that actually looks at the bigger, you know, the bigger picture of, you know, as it relates to the business.
Right, absolutely. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, 100%. Mission, anyone? Or mission statement. And don't go Googling it and reading nothing off from Google. What is a mission statement, anyone?
I'll give it a try. As an extension educator, I would like to look at whole farm health, including the farmer as well as the business operation.
Absolutely. Perfect. That's exactly right. Anyone else? All right. Identify goals.
Could be
Now, that's an easy one. Come on, somebody. Goals?
profitable, to be profitable.
To be profitable. Anyone else?
All right, perfect. You can identify goals, but how you gotta identify goals? I mean, if you don't know if you don't have the reach, what you want to do, even like access to land, it's really hard right now. There's a lot of things going on. You know, how you can really know what you want to do. You don't even know really how to start. Make sense?
Yes, sir. It makes sense. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of individuals, male and female, will go into farming with an ideal, but an ideal is not a vision, okay? An ideal is not a mission. An ideal is not a goal. And so as a result, when that ideal doesn't come to pass, when it doesn't happen like they want it to, then they get frustrated. But here's the thing. You have to have a vision. If land, who was that a while ago? Rudy, is that, am I saying that right? When you start talking about, okay, well,
Yes, sir.
I want to acquire land. Okay, first of all, let's do this then. If that's what you want, is there land available in the area where you're located that's for sale? If so, what are they asking for? Now, is there any financing available, like the FSA farm ownership program, or it could be Federal Land Bank or some other, and I don't know who the lenders are in your area. You may say, well, they're not going to make, no. I don't care about that part. All I want to know is what are their requirements for you to qualify for a loan through them. Once you get the eligibility requirements, then you say, okay, fine, let me go ahead and start working on getting myself, positioning myself so that I can meet these qualifications. Not them qualifying you based on where you are right now. No, but you need to know what it is that, because that tells me if I know that I need to get my credit score up to from where it is to another 30 or 40 points, then I need to start working on that. Oftentimes, where you want to go and where you are now, there's a time frame to get from point A to point B. And we have to be able to communicate that. Let me give you an example, Rudy, what I did one time. There was a guy, and it took him 2 years. I was in Alabama. He came in. I sat down, and instead of me just going through the standard, you're not going to qualify, blah, blah, blah. I said, let me tell you what I would like to see you try and do. I would like to see you, and he had some issues. I think he was in trucking and some other stuff going on. But anyway, long story short, I told him, here's what you need to do. He said, thank you, Mr. McCard. And he left. I didn't see him anymore that year. He came back the following year and say, I took care of that, what you talk about, because it took that amount of time for him to get everything corrected. I looked at it, I say, now, here's the problem that you're gonna run into. And we talked about his cash flow that based on farming alone. And then I said, you might wanna go out there and try to find you a little old job and have some personal income coming in so that when you apply, that can count toward helping to meet some of your family living situation. He went out, didn't come back, you came back and said, come on, Mr. McCall, I got me a job and I took care of that other stuff like you told me to. Now this 2 years. We sat down and looked at it, I said, okay, guess what? He said, what? I said, your application is approved. But it took 2 years. It took his willingness to not see me as the enemy, but see that I was someone sitting across the desk trying to advise him on what he needed to do in order to get where he wanted to go. And it took him 2 years to fix those situations that was preventing him from being able to qualify. And so I'm going back to communication. We have to figure out a way, a better way to communicate to individuals that and I've had people come up with, I call it pie in the sky. I want to jump, I want to run, I want to fly, I want to do all these things. It was kind of like, this didn't really happen. This was a joke, I guess. And the guy say, well, he put $5 in church. The preacher gave me $5 back and told him, say, well, he asked too much for $5, So you can't, yes, include all of that. That's part of your vision. But don't put a time frame and say, but I want to get there in 6 months, because it may not happen in 6 months. Okay, my time running out, I have to hurry up. Golly. Y'all know it's 11. Oh my God. Okay, let's go. Let's roll. Let's roll.
Great.
I don't think we're gonna get all the way, but we're gonna go as far as we can.
Okay.
So now, yes, ma'am, right there. This is what we call the wheel in the middle of the wheel. In other words, we talked about those 5 tasks, but now within each of those tasks, you have what they call planning areas. So you have 4 key functional planning areas for each of the 5 tasks. Let me say that again. You got your 5 tasks, okay? 5 tasks, but you have 4 planning areas that comes under each of those 5 tasks. Okay, next slide. Marketing. That's one of the planning areas that goes up under each of those 5 planning tasks. Next slide. I got to make up some ground now. Operations. Operations is a planning area. So you got marketing, you have operations. Next. Human resources. You have marketing, you have operations, you have human resource, and the last one should be finance. Each of these are what we call planning areas. Each of those areas come under one task, but when you consider that one task, you need to look at the 4 areas. I'm trying to get to, yes ma'am, okay, next slide. So here's an example. If we want to talk about record keeping, just record keeping by itself, we want to look at record keeping from the marketing standpoint. We want to look at record keeping from the operations standpoint. We want to look at record keeping from the human resources standpoint. We want to look at record keeping from the finances. And an example, in marketing, we say maintain a customer database to track purchases, feedback and customer location, addresses, phone numbers, email contact. All that comes up under your marketing. Operations. You want to track the productivity of each enterprise, such as your yields, your weight gain. There's other indicators like pasture composition, soil composition, the protein content of feed. All that comes up under your operation. This is just record keeping now. Then you're talking about human resources. Record the number of hours that you spend on the job or on the farm. And a lot of times this can be consumed if you try to do it day by day. So here they recommend, okay, fine. Just do one typical week or one typical month that's representative of the various tasks that you perform during the year. And when you do that, then you can estimate the amount of that time. So if you know you spent so many hours doing this here, doing that, and you tracked it during that whole week or that whole month, then you extrapolate, okay, fine. Now I'll be doing this type of, this is a function on my farm I know for the next 6 months. Then you take that time, multiply times 6, and you have an estimate of an amount of hours that you're going to need for. Why is that important? Because if you have to get some addition, if you know that you can't meet that demand, you may have to bring in some part-time labor during peak seasons, that sort of thing. So go back 1 second.
I went back.
You did?
Yeah.
Record keeping, okay, yeah, there you go. Oh, that, you
Wait.
doing good. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Stay where you are. Now we want to talk about the business life cycle. Now, the business life cycle is something that as educators, we need to know about, because a lot of times when you talk to a farmer, to a rancher, without understanding where he is in his business, if it's a startup, there's some recommendations that I have for a person in startup, whereas if the cycle that he's in is in decline, I got a whole different conversation for that person. You see what I'm saying? Startup, that person got new equipment, he's heavy leveraged, he got money he's borrowed to purchase his land, tractor, what have you. So he got a lot of major capital investments. This person in decline, that same equipment, when it was brand new over here in startup, guess what? Now it's older equipment. It demands a lot of, he spend more time under the tractor than in it. The cows are smooth mouth, now they old. They're not giving you a calf like they normally do, or your production is falling off. When you get to a point of decline, you got 2 decisions to make. Because if you don't do nothing, ultimately it's going to result in death or the end of that farm, or you can look at the possibility of what they call rebirth. And if you look at here, when you talk about decline, I'm going to read that. It says, during this period, the manager begins to wind down the business. Rather than making new investments, the manager utilizes current machinery and facilities until retirement. Surplus capital often exists, but labor may be in short supply. Non-business goals receive higher priority. What do you mean non-business goals? Anything other than that farm. His interest is no longer on the farm. His interest is in something other than the farm. It could be anything. And he's ready to get out of the farming business. Whereas in growth, during the period of growth, during this period, the business tends to expand rapidly in terms of acres, crop. Every decision seems like it's the right one. And I mean, that farm is just taking off, like what? And next thing you know, you make the assumption, oh man, it's gonna be like this always. No, it's not. You're in a season, a cycle of your business. That's just the cycle that you're in. It's not gonna last forever. Nothing lasts forever. You look at Sears and Roebuck. I thought they was gonna be around forever. I don't know if y'all remember the old Sears and Roebuck. I'm 61, but Sears and Roebuck, there was a time when just about everything in my house came from Sears. Everything. It didn't matter. But it's not like that today because of the business life cycle. Everything is going to have a period of rapid growth, then it matures. When you reach that period of maturity, let's read about maturity. During the maturity stage, the manager has reached full employment and the size of the business stabilizes. And here's what I mean by that. If you have so many acres and you can only, a pasture, you only can put, say, 1 cow per 2 acres, and I'm just gonna use an example. So if you got 100 acres and you got 50 cows, there's only so many calves you can get off 50 cows. The max is 50, okay? You at the max. You can't go any higher without what? Getting some additional pasture land, getting some additional, you have to expand, you have to look at expanding your operation. So every operation has a limit that it can go up to. And once that farm reaches its maximum potential, either it expands, it has to go into a new area, diversify, bring in, come on, develop new enterprises, value added, what they call agro-tourism, where they want to start inviting kids, put pumpkins out there and bring kids from school out there doing Thanksgiving, October, something to try to generate additional revenue or an additional revenue stream off of the same base of operation that you already have without expansion. So you got to know where that person is within the life cycle of their business. They may say, well, how do you know where they are? How can you tell? Well, one way to know is through those ratios. Y'all heard us talk about, not in this training, but I'm sure y'all talk about financial ratios. In other words, if you look at revenue, you look at sales, and you look at profitability or profit. When you look at profit, now this is not on your notes. I'm just throwing this in extra. I'm not going to charge you anything extra for this. But when you start talking about profit, if you got a farm and your production is the same, it's identical. Your production was identical. Your sales was the same as last year. Your income decreased, but your profit increased. What happened? In other words, you're saying, I'm saying, and let's go back to livestock. You sold 10 cows, okay? But the income that you made last year off those 10 cows was, and I'm just gonna use a ballpark, let's say $60,000, okay? You sold those same cows, but now all of a sudden you only got, what? $40,000. Well, you sold the same cow, but you got less for it because it could be market factors, right? But then I look at my profit and it went up. How's that possible? It went up because you probably was in maturity. What is maturity? Maturity, because here in startup, you got more expenses. You upside down. You got all these expenses you're trying to pay. You just borrowed this loan. Now you reach maturity where at this point now, your expenses are starting to level out some. Your notes are starting to level out some. You don't have to buy that. The tractor is running fine. You don't have any repairs that are being done to it. Your expenses have leveled out. So the decrease to increase their profit, especially when you had a decrease in income, was because of and so when you see that, they tell me, well, I'm not in growth anymore. I'm in maturity. So you have to look at these numbers, those ratios. They tell you where they're not going to lie. One thing I like about math, 1 + 1 is 2. They're not going to lie. And so when you look at those ratios, it'll let you know where you are in the life cycle of that business. Okay, next slide. I had that. This was originally a longer presentation, but we're going to shorten it some. Now, planning task 1, identifying those values. Okay, we talked about that, but now let's kind of like drill down into that a little bit. And wow, it's 11:30. Go for it. Let me see if I want to touch base on something. I don't have about maybe 10 more minutes of instruction time. Keep going. I'm sorry for skipping over this, y'all. I'm trying to hit some high points. Now, let me say this here. Everything that I've talked about is in your handbook, notebook, what have you. But if you have any questions, there'll be some contact information on myself. And if you want to call me, you're more than welcome to. Let's go to planning task 2. Let's go to planning task 2. Right there, hold right there. Okay, let's talk about this. We need to prepare a brief history of your farm and your business. And you start there by assessing your, that's 1. 2, you need to do an assessment of your current situation. And remember, you got 4, we call it a wheel within a wheel, right? So that means you got marketing. You have to look at it in terms of your operational. We have to look at it in terms of your human resource, and we have to look at it in terms of finance. I want to show this to you because remember now, everything you do, you have to look at it from those 4 lenses, through those 4 lenses. If you don't see it through those 4 lenses, you're going to miss something. How many times have you seen someone in a business, they started out, and then all of a sudden some hops up and they go, oh, well, I didn't think about that. I didn't, well, because you didn't use a holistic approach in developing strategies, in this case, for history. And like I said, you're gonna do the same thing with, when you start talking about your visions and missions and goals, you're gonna do the same thing with everything. You gotta look at from the, because first of all, let me talk about this for a minute. Marketing. It's good to produce a crop, but if you can't sell it, what have you actually done? You see what I'm saying? That's why that's number 1. That's not 4 or 5, or that's number 1 on your list. You got to be able to show how that effort, that energy that you put into that farm, how's that going to translate into dollars and cents? If you can't show that, you really wasting your time on human resources, on borrowed money. If you borrowed the money, you're not going to be able to pay it back, or you're not going to be able to show how you're going to pay it back. You know, operations. To be able to generate this type of income, your operation has to function at a certain level in order to be able to generate or produce the crop, the livestock, the row crop, the produce, whatever it is, poultry, milk. But your marketing, you have to do an assessment. In other words, product. Be clear about what it is that you want to sell. Customers, who are you selling to? And you can't say, well, I'm going to make my money by parking on the side of the road, and then just whoever shows up, that's who shows up. You see, that don't work that way. I'm not saying don't park on the side of the road, but what I'm saying, before you park over there, you need to go out there. Have y'all ever seen some of them folks stand on the side of the road, and every time a car passes by, click, they keep a record up. They track records up. Okay, how many people came through on Monday? How many people came through on Thursday? How many people came through on? And then when they say, well, now we got a lot of traffic that passes through here on Thursdays and Fridays. Those are the days we need to be out there. We don't need to be sitting out there on the highway when 3 cars came through all day long. So there's some research that has to be done for you to pick a site on where you're going to do your roadside farm. So that's part of your marketing. That's your product, customers, unique features. And every farm has to have some unique feature. What do you mean a unique feature? It has to be unique in that what separates, why should I buy from you as opposed to anybody else? What's so special about what you're selling as opposed to what this man down the road is selling? You have to have something that's unique about your farming, or you need to be able to communicate that as outreach educators. You need to be able to communicate that to the farmer. What is unique about your poultry? What's so special about your chickens, your birds? And it has to be something. And because if you notice, and I don't know if y'all, I know we all over the place here, but if I go to Popeyes, I notice they chicken is a certain size. If I go to KFC, they chicken is a certain size. But now I don't know what they doing in churches, because the chickens they got in churches, man, God dog. Them some, I don't know what they doing, but those, so you may be trying to grow your birds to satisfy church's chicken, that market. You may be trying to satisfy. So each customer has to have something that's unique that set them apart from the next person down the road. Operations, physical resources. What about physical resources? Barns, wells, fences, all of those things. This is part of your assessment of the current situation. If I want cows, I got real estate or land, and it's roads, and I got road frontage and no perimeter fencing. But I want to put some cows out there, and I'm just saying, I know my cows, they ain't going out in the street. They're going to stay on the farm where I put them. No, that's part of operations. You need to realize that, okay, you may have 3 strands. You may want to go with 5 strands, barbed wire, but you want to look at your operations. Human resources. You may not be in a position to hire nobody now, but is there a labor force available so that if you needed to hire someone, you could hire someone? Or are you going to rely on family? You might have a son, and that son may be able to help you all so much. But then all of a sudden, and it was working fine when he was in the 10th grade, the 11th grade, and the 12th grade, but now a decision got to be, is he going to not go to college or go to the military? If he does, what is that going to do to you? So you have to be able to anticipate changes in workforce. That's what you see down there, anticipate changes in workforce. You got somebody that's good, but they may decide, you know what, boss, I'm gonna try this on my own. He may be your farm manager, been there for 10 years. Now he decides, you know what, I want to farm on my own. Finances, all of that. So you have to do, but ultimately, what we're talking about is conducting a whole farm, and they call that a SWOT analysis. And basically, that's the S stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that's a whole process. And it also is in this workshop, this book that I was telling you about, this workbook that I was telling you about. Okay, the next slide. Oh, right there. Planning task 3, vision, missions, and goals. And y'all, because I'm really not doing you guys a good service. I wish I had longer. I'm sorry I don't. I'm gonna stop right here after I discuss this, because after that, then I want to leave time for you guys to ask me any questions that you may have. And so let's start. We want to talk about planning task 3, visions, mission, and goals. Where do you want to go? You see, I'm talking about you communicating this to the farmers and the ranchers that you work with. They have to have a dream for the future. And if they don't see them, most of the times they want to talk about obstacles or barriers that's preventing them from getting to where they want to go. But tell me where it is you want to go first, and then let's figure out the best methods to get there. In other words, without a vision, their business is going to perish. It's not going to be successful. They've got to visualize. And they got to see it, just like I'm looking at this. I'm looking at my clock here. Telling me what time it is. They've got to be able to see that. And then they have to develop a mission statement that is going to spell out what that vision is and incorporate or going to that expresses their not vision, but their, what I just tell y'all earlier, getting ahead of myself, sound like that guy, they're talking about that board about the election and all that kind of stuff, but their values. So that mission statement has to express their values. It has to be incorporated in there. And then you have to set and you have to prioritize goals, because you can't do all of it at one time. You have to decide what's step one, what's step two, what's step three, and don't deviate. You have to trust that process. You have to trust your business plan. You got to trust that plan, because it's just like, that'd be the equivalent. I'm going back to my GPS example. If that GPS, that lady on there, she say, turn right at the next corner, I say, I'm going left. And then when I turn left, the lady, she ain't gonna quit. She ain't gonna give up on me. She gonna say, make a U-turn and then go back right. You know, so that's what that business plan does. When you get off track, that business plan is gonna tell you, make a U-turn, go back in a different direction. Why? Because in order to meet your goals, you can't go down this way. You can't make this particular kind of decision. These are the kinds of, you need something to balance you, to anchor you, to make sure that you stay on track. It could be setting, and then the last one is preparing the vision, writing it out, and the goal section of your business plan. That's part of your actual business plan. And so, according to mine, it's 11:42. I got 3 minutes for questions. I'm so sorry, y'all, that I didn't get, and I had some good stuff planned for y'all, but all right, I'm through, Ms. Joy.
I got you. Thank you so much, Mr. McCarty. I think we all just gonna want to take you home with us. I don't know how the first lady will feel about that.
No, it'd be kind of tough.
But there was a question from Rudy, and he asked about organic. I'm trying to go back up to it. Rudy, do you want to unmute yourself? He asked about, what about organic bills, also grass feed?
Yes, because also I heard, like they have special bills about, they're promoting this, like about organic and also grass-fed cattle.
Okay,
Thank
I'll tell you what, I'm a finance man, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw that over to my cohort, Mr. Reed. He may be able to help you out on that. Mr. Reed.
I'm sorry, I'm missing part of the question. He was breaking up a little bit.
Ask your question again. Rudy.
Yeah, I was asking about, about organic farming, also about organic grass-fed cattle. Because I know they're doing like the FDA they are doing like a special kind of there's kind of sponsorship, like if you do that, like they give you a special like bonuses or stuff like that. And also like they give you more like into like what is education into it, make sense?
I'll tell you what, if you would,
Can I interrupt just for?
if you would send me your phone number in the chat direct, I'll call you after we get offline today. We can talk directly.
Okay, go ahead, Diana. That's fine.
Perfect, thank you.
I am a representative of Hope for Small Farm Sustainability, and we help farmers here in the Rio Grande Valley, but I'm also a certified organic farmer. So if he's asking questions, there's two separate things there. It would be to become certified organic on your cattle, meat, or grass. You would have to go through one process. But for strictly selling meat that is grass-fed only, it's two separate things. Just so that he understands, they're not the same. Just because you feed your animals grass doesn't make it organic.
That was my question, really. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And,
Well,
and yeah, if your main language is the Spanish, I'm very fluent in Spanish. So if you have any kind of questions and you want to share, you want, you know, more information, I'd be willing to help you out.
thank you, Diana.
Appreciate
That's
it.
very nice of you. So as promised, Mr. McCarty, we appreciated you and your presentation. Some of us felt like we were at church. But instead of passing the plate, we're going to take a 15-minute break as I promised. And for those of us on Eastern Standard Time, we are going to come back at 1 o'clock. And for everybody else in your time zones, we'll be back in 15 minutes. Hopefully everyone has had the opportunity to enjoy that break. We're going to keep moving along with our agenda, but I am going to do a plug to our first three presenters. Thank you guys so much. And McCarty, it's obvious that you worked at FSA as well. So I feel like we had the FSA heavy hitters and the retiree kick off our program. So we're going to keep the momentum at that level. You've set the bar high, but we appreciate you. But we are now going to move into our farm record keeping and budgeting presentation, which will be done by Miss Iris Crosby, who's with the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. So I am going to go ahead and bring up her presentation. And while I'm doing that, please remember, if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to add them to the chat box, and we will do our best to address them during the presentation. And Iris, you can unmute yourself and let me know if you can see your presentation on the screen.
I have unmuted myself.
Do you see your presentation?
Right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, good afternoon. And I will try to stay on schedule, and I'll try to talk slowly because I've been accused of talking too fast. So you can understand. And if I go a little too fast, I get excited, I kind of go fast. So if I need to slow down, just let me know. So today we're going to start with budgeting. And what we'll do is we'll start off trying to, next slide, please. We're going to define budgeting. We're going to talk about key reasons and the benefits of budgeting, the need and the value of budgeting and planning, how to develop a budget. We're going to look at some sample budgets and then some tools. What is a budget? Budget, when we talk about budget, we're talking about income. Where is the money coming in from? And that can come in from sales, like your produce sales, or if you're in livestock, your animals, or whatever your enterprise is, whatever resource is coming in from sales. Next, it could be fees. You could have like some agritourism. You could have, if you're in the produce industry, you could have in October, you could have had kids come out to the farm and charge them a fee for a farm tour or a hayride or things of that nature. And so you can have, depending on your enterprise, you can have things where you charge a fee for that service. And so that's where those fees that would become a part of your income. And then payments. Some farmers are registered for some government programs, like if you're in with NRCS, if you're in a conservation easement program where you get paid for that, for participating in that, then those payments from the government would be considered income. The next part of your budget is expenses. And then on the expenses, we have our direct expense, and then we have overhead expenses. Next slide. All right, let's define what we mean by budget. For a working definition here, it's an itemized list of all anticipated revenue that enterprise receives. The budget is a financial plan for a specified period. Next slide. Let's check your financial pulse. And this is where you would want the farmer to take an inventory of their financial situation. And as Mr. McCarty talked about, knowing where you are so you could, and where you want to go. So this is part of that process. Before you begin, you want to save, try to build up an emergency or a rainy fund just in case you have some challenges or financial issues that come up, because in life and in farming, those things always happen. And then you implement the financial strategy that's right for you. Next slide. There are different types of budgeting. We'll cover 5 different types of budgets. The cash flow budget, the enterprise budget, the partial budget, a whole farm or ranch planning budget, and then the family living budget or expenditure budget. And all budgeting starts with a plan. Next slide. When we talk about the cash flow budget, it really looks at the movement of your money. So it starts with, it's an estimate of all of your cash receipts, what's coming in, and then all of your cash expenditures, what's going out. You looking at the cash expense that's occurring within a certain time period, whether it's monthly or bi-monthly, quarterly or yearly. And it's certainly just keeping track of the money, seeing where that money is moving and how that money is moving. Next slide, please. When we look at cash on hand, again, examples will be like livestock, things from your livestock sale, if you're a livestock producer, for example. Then you look at your livestock on hand, how many cows you have on hand, how many calves will be produced during that particular year. And then you exclude the animals to be carried over for the next year or that you're going to hold back as part of your breeding stock. You also want to include sales of breeding stock that may not, that you're going to cull or that you're going to pull. And then you want to also include your livestock product sales, whether it's if you're growing if it's a dairy farm, your milk sale, or if it's sheep, if it's being grown for wool. Next slide, please. All right, management tools. We heard in the previous presentation about planning and goals. So you use those goals to help to plan, and then you test your farm plan. The projects and the different projects that you have in your plan, you look at the operating or credit needs for that particular project. If most small farmers have livestock and then they have cash crops. So you would look at that, at your livestock operation, what those credit needs within a year or a month or whatever, or that growing season. Then you also want to look at, if you have a loan, the loan repayment schedule. If you're going to apply for a microloan, then how long is that loan and what's that repayment schedule? You also want to look at and compare your actual cash flow, what you project and what actually is coming in, and see how does that compare to the schedule for your loan repayment. And then you want to communicate your farming plans to others, those that are part of your operation, your staff. Make sure that that they know where you plan to go and what your credit needs are. And your records or your record keeping, you will also look at your previous year's records, and we'll cover record keeping in a little bit more detail in coming up. Next slide. Next slide. All right, let's talk about an enterprise budget. An enterprise budget is simply a budget that lists your estimated income and expenses that's associated with a specific enterprise, and that provides an estimate of its profitability. For example, if you're, again, in livestock, or if you're growing crops, if you're growing a particular crop, then if you're in produce, if you grow collard greens, if you grow, each crop that you grow would be a different enterprise. And so there would be a budget for if you grow greens, or if you grow squash, if you grow sweet potatoes, if you're doing cattle, each of those would be a different enterprise. And so there would be an enterprise budget for that. A little later on, we'll go through an example of an enterprise budget. So we're looking at income or revenue for that particular enterprise. What are those expenses? What are the returns? Is there a profit, or are there losses for that particular crop or livestock production? Your enterprise budget determines if that enterprise should be expanded, whether or not you need to cut back in some areas, or if you need to not do that again if it's not profitable to continue there. This can be used in conjunction with partial budgets, and we'll cover that a little bit later on. And this also helps you to compare your management practices. The base unit for your enterprise budget is typically an acre for crops, or a head of, or one head if you're dealing with livestock. Enterprise budgets help us to determine if that enterprise, should be expanded, or whether or not it's something you would want to discontinue. Next slide.
I'm coming, Iris, I swear.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
I'm trying to stay within my time frame, because I know I got more slides than I have time, so I'm going a little faster.
Got the right, I got you right.
Okay. All right, so we talk about they're continuing with enterprise budgets. There are a couple of types of enterprise budgets. There's the planning enterprise budget, and then there's a financial analysis enterprise budget. And it helps to identify the most profitable enterprises. It provides a basis for partial budgeting, and it contains data or information that will be needed to be computed, because budgets deals with numbers, and they say numbers don't lie. It helps you to determine that cost of production, what it is you need to do to break even, which helps to determine your cost, or what you need to sell, or sell that cow or that produce at to make a profit, or just to break even. And so you can't sell it less than what it takes for you to break even. All right, next slide.
Okay, I'm coming. There you go.
All right, then now we're gonna talk about incomes. The incomes must be kept separately and your expenses must be kept separately in the enterprise budget. You want to record transfers from one enterprise to another, and the allocation of cost, how much electricity you spend for that enterprise, water, like if you're in crops, if you're irrigating, are you using your well water, or are you using municipal water? And so you want to keep track of that cost so that you could tie it to your bigger budget. And if you have, like the question came up about organic, if you're growing organic, then you have a different set of feeding that's requirement. So the cost for those feeds. Next slide. The format for an enterprise budget. The enterprise budget has 4 parts: the income, receipts, and revenue, which we talked about. Then the next we have the variable or operating expenses, and then you have fixed expenses, and then there is the bottom line or your summary. And you also want to include the name, the region, the year, and the time period for that particular enterprise budget so that you could refer back to exactly what you're talking about. Income or receipts and revenue. Again, you want to name the revenue. You want to name the source. You want to name the source. Is it coming from that crop? Is it coming from fees? Where is it coming from? The quantity and what unit. For example, if you're selling livestock, how many, are you selling 5 every month or 50 heads of cattle, or how many you want to record that. And then the unit, what are you using, and then the price per unit. For example, if it's in beef cattle, it might be so many, the cost per pound of that. And then in produce, it could be cost per pound, or it could be cost per bundle if you're selling greens. All right, next slide. Pricing. When we're talking about revenue, then pricing plays a big part. And, actual prices should be used when you're looking at a short run for your planning budget. You could project the price, but what was that actual price that you paid for that item? And what was the actual price that you sold that cow for, or that or your produce for? What was that actual price that was done? Next slide. All right, some income definitions. Cash payments for production sold, such as your crops, livestock. And so when we talk about cash payments, that's what we're talking about. What are those cash payments for that particular enterprise? Again, you could be enrolled, or farmers are enrolled in, there's certain government programs that make payments, like the CRP, or Wetland Reserve. Those are 2 programs through NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, that will pay farmers So if you're enrolled in any, if the farm is enrolled in those payments, in those programs, then they get payments for that. And then that's a source of income. Non-cash revenues would be for things like feed to be fed to your livestock. Non-cash revenues for livestock transferred from one to another internal livestock, and non-cash revenues for residue. All right, next slide. Okay, when we're talking about cost, we're looking at operating costs, we're looking at variable costs, we're looking at direct cost, and we're looking at labor cost. We're also looking at variable costs, direct costs, indirect costs, fixed costs, and capital costs. All right. The costs, okay, there we go. The cost section usually has less variability and uncertainty. The direct and indirect cost usually has less variability and uncertainty than the income section. Operating and capital costs usually have fixed and variable cost. Your operating or variable and direct costs, because that can change, because it depends on whether that enterprise is increased or decreased in the intensity. These expenses expenses you may incur if you produce, if you scale up your production or if you reduce production. So those are some of the things that cause the variability in your cost.
Hold on, I'm trying to do. Okay, there you go.
All right, the bottom line. And we always have to get to the bottom line. Mr. McCarty talked about that. So you look at your returns over your operating cost or your gross margin. The return to your labor and your management cost, and then the profit and loss. And this is the whole purpose of being in business. It's usually to make money, not lose money. So your income minus your operating cost gives you that gross margin, or the GM refers to gross margin and OP refers to operating cost. So then after we get the gross margin, you subtract that from the fixed costs and you get the return to labor. Then you take your return to labor and you subtract your labor cost, and that gives us our profit and loss. All right, next slide. All right, enterprise budget summary. And it talked about, that our enterprise budgets can be used as a planning tool for analysis. This helps the farm manager or the farmer make better understand the pros and the cons for that particular aspect of their budget. It allows for producing sound budget requires that you do put a detailed understanding of that particular enterprise, what those production practices are. Then you look at what the generating income from that practice is, what are those incurring variable costs, and what are the fixed costs. An understanding of basic budgeting framework. Then sound enterprise budgets provides more information than just the enterprise profitability. It helps to identify the most profitable enterprises on a farm. They provide the basis for partial budgeting and cost of production calculations, and they can be used to produce that break-even price and your production analysis. So it's a pretty useful tool in the toolkit. Next slide. The partial budget. The partial budgets help the owners or managers to evaluate the financial effect of changes. And you know, in life, there's always changes. So you want to look at changes or how to manage those changes. The partial budget helps, it includes resources that can be changed. It does not consider resources in the business that are left unchanged. It looks at those changing or those parts that change. The only change on the change is under consideration and is evaluated. What will be the effect of an increase or decreased income in your farm business? So this is a good planning tool to look at risk and to plan for changes. All right, next slide. All right, partial budgets. The pieces of a partial, or the components of a partial budget. First is divided into 2 columns. The partial budget has 4 parts. The first is divided into 2 columns. The left column has items that increase income, and the right column has items that reduce income. The top half deals with the income increase and decreases. The bottom half of the report reports your expenses that decrease and increase. A subtotal of each column, and then a grand total. So it gives you a pretty clear picture. All right, next slide. Whole farm budget. This is the last step in the budget process, and it estimates the cash inflow and outflow and the liquidity. How liquid are you? It compares alternative plans for profitability and liquidity. It helps to evaluate the effects of changing other parts of your farm plan. It provides a way to estimate the needs and the availability of resources. What are your land needs? What are the capital needs? What are the labor needs? Feed, irrigation, and irrigation water. And depending on where you live, if you live places like California or places where water is a big issue, then planning for irrigation or water needs for your enterprise is certainly a critical step. Also, if you, it can help with if you're doing an operation and you're going to expand your operation, and you may need an additional well. So the water resources that you have may not be adequate. You may need to get a well, so that this helps you to determine that. And there are programs through NRCS to get a well, so you'll be able to know that that's a step that would need to be included. The whole budget helps the farm to, you could present this plan to a banker, or if you're renting or leasing land to the landlord, and if you're going to open up your operation for partners or partnerships, then this is that whole farm budget allows to do that. All right, next slide. It's important to plan. Planning is a key tool to keep track of money. It helps to keep track of expenses, And again, it lets you see what's coming in and what's going out. All right, some examples of, we were talking about direct expenses. So things like your seed, your soil amendments, your crop insurance, your utilities, fuel, marketing costs, loans, those are examples of direct expenses for a farm operation. All right, next slide. Overhead expenses. And overhead or fixed expenses include things like permanently hired labor, equipment, farm insurance, professional fees. If you need an inspection, if you're in produce, if you have to get certification, those things that are professional fees would go on to your overhead expense, your utilities, your light, gas, and water. Those are things that would be captured in the overhead expense. Next slide. The need and value of a budget. A budget is needed to provide information on income and expenses. A budget provides a clear picture of finances. It provides information that allows to make financial decisions. The next slide, please. Expenses, and these are expenses when we're talking about a personal, for either personal or the farm budget. These are the categories that you would find in your expenses: your utilities, insurance, housing, phone, internet, repairs and maintenance, transportation, fuel, car payments. Next slide, please. On the farm side, here are some of the expenses in a farm budget. You think your fuel, operating expenses, feed, seed, fertilizer, insurance, labor, and equipment. All right, next slide. How to develop a budget. It's important to separate the personal or family budget from the farm or business budget, and we want to keep those records. Now let's look at it as an example of a personal budget. Next slide. All right, the sample personal budget, and here we talked about the utilities, and the key thing here is you want to make sure that that total at the end of the day, that your expenses does not exceed your income. And sometimes that happens, and then you have to look and see where you can cut. But this is just an example of monthly expenses. The gas bill is $60. And the cable bill and the water bill and so on. Next slide. Mortgage, food, clothing, healthcare, house repairs, church, insurance, furniture and appliance, auto repair, credit cards, your landline or your cell phone. And you want to make sure that you capture all of the expenses. It's important to separate your personal and the farm business. By separating the two budgets, it gives a better picture of the personal and personal financial situation. And again, this shows that the monthly expenses is $1,300, $1,330.
Oops, sorry, Iris, my bad.
That's all right. No, go ahead. We're ready to go on to the. So now this is the example of the farm budget. So the repairs and maintenance, your rent and lease of land, and this will vary from operation. If the farmer owns his land, then he wouldn't have a rental expense. If it's a newer startup farm, then, and if the equipment is new, then wouldn't have repairs and maintenance. Your seed and plant, pesticide or insecticide, herbicide, fungicide, fertilizer. And again, you know, this will vary from enterprise to enterprise. Fuel, gas, oil. If that enterprise has storage or warehousing, transportation cost. And this is the $3,000 is the business expense, and then the personal expense was $1,300. So between the two, you're looking at over $5,000 of expense within a month. Next slide, please. All right, now college, this is an example of an enterprise budget. We talked about the different types of budgets, so I wanted to go through or give you a sample of the budgets. And I want to say that a lot of the record keeping book that you'll get in the mail after you've gone through this training, you'll be getting that in the mail. And these budgets are on page 32 and 33. I've used those sample budgets directly out of that record keeping book. So, all right, now on this enterprise budget for Collard Greens, you see we have the different expenses, the planting, the fertilizer, the land preparation, the insecticide, all of those items. All right, the key thing with the enterprise budget is to see that it has, we talked about, it gives the cost of the break even, the cost per box, your total expenses, and the your net projected returns, and then the break even price. So this is just an example of the enterprise budget. And so next slide. Now, if we were doing this live, we would have an exercise where you'd be given, go to the next slide, where the tool is simple. You'll be given spreadsheets, and then you would ask the participants to just filling that, and it should take about 10 minutes for them to just fill in their own personal budget, and then you would come back. Some tools that are good for is you use spreadsheets. Some people like to write notebooks, pencil and paper, record keeping books that I mentioned with the forms in it are great examples to record, to keep track of your income and expenses. And then you can utilize technologies, things like your cell phone to take pictures, and that's another way of recording or capturing that information. All right, next slide. All right, so let's look at what we covered. We've covered what's a budget. We've defined the budget. We've checked your financial pulse. We've talked about 5 types of budgets, the components of a budget, and then tools and examples of budgets. All right, next slide. All right, my name is Iris Crosby. I'm with the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. My cell phone number is 662-769-6422. And my email address is crosbyi@uapb.edu. So that's my contact information. And next slide. Record books. I'm gonna have, well, can we go through where the purpose of record keeping? Can we just keep going with the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, it's for planning, implementation, and control. All right, why farm record? The farm record book. Record keeping is a great tool to help with planning your farm business. Records should contain the usage of your materials in your field, crops, your livestock, along with fertilizer. If you're using restricted pesticides, you are required to keep records, your soil amendments, and then crop yields. The recorded information can be used to determine the best amendments for subsequent plantings, as well as to meet the requirements for certain governmental reporting requirements. Next slide. All right, the purpose of keeping records. Keep going.
Okay, I'm good.
All right. It monitors progress. It identifies the source of receipts. It keeps track of your deductible expenses. It helps you to prepare for tax returns. It's helpful to prepare financial statements. It documents your farm history, and then it meets governmental reporting requirements. Next slide. Sometimes farmers tend to keep things in their head, so the key is trying to get them to write things down. All right, the benefits of record keeping. We talked about it. Where to start? Keep going. All right, the key to successful record keeping is commitment. And then you want to start with a good accounting system that allows you to grow and have an understanding of the value. Start with something that's simple and that you could improve on over time. Choose a system that's adequate to meet the current needs and that can be expanded. The type of system you use depends on the characteristic of your business. If you're in more than one business, then you want to keep complete and separate books for each one of them. Next.
Coming. Hold on. There we go.
All right, income records, things like sales receipts, checks, bank statements, W-2, 1099s. Next slide. Income records enable you to prepare financial statements. It helps you to identify the source of your receipts. It allows you to monitor the progress of your business, to keep track of deductible expenses. It's great for preparing tax returns, and it supports items that are reported on tax returns. So it's a great tool for IRS. Next slide. Why record keeping? Farming is a business. So you gather data that's needed for your budgets and detailed financial statements. You see the progress and how it aligns with your farm goals. You determine what enterprises are profitable. Are you making money? What's making you money and how much money are you making? Should you change your production plan? Do you want to increase or decrease? And what are your taxes that you need to keep up with? Next slide. We all have to pay taxes until we die, so we can't get away from that. So record keeping certainly for tax purposes is certainly a critical thing. You do have to provide proof of income and expenses. You also have to provide things like your vehicle records, whether if you're using your vehicle for business purpose. If you're using your home as as part of your business, then you document that. The interest on your mortgage, your pay statements, those are some of the kinds of records that will help you with your taxes. Next. Records can also be used to support loan applications, for analyzing investments, for measuring the profitability of individual enterprises, for monitoring production inventories, for developing sound marketing plans, helping you to engage in estate planning and valuation, and measuring the operating and financial performance of your business. Next.
I'm coming, Iris.
Okay. All right. The key thing is write it down. Write it down, write it down, write it down. So you want to emphasize that to the farmers. Types of records: production records, livestock records, fertilizer, soil amendments, field usage, and pesticide application. Next slide. Purpose of records: they make it easy to look at the progress of the farm. It provides documentation of the resources and the assets. It provides documentation for filing income taxes. It provides an inventory, and we'll have a whole presentation on inventory. It's a valuable tool for planning and decision making. Next slide. How to maintain records. Your records should be organized. They need to be kept in a safe place. You want to utilize, again, how to maintain records. Okay. Keep them in a safe place, have a backup plan, and use digital records when possible. Determine your state and federal income tax liability. Your county tax assessor can make a stronger case if you feel like your land is being being overvaluated. If you have records, you could go back and challenge that assessment. Next slide. All right, for credit purposes, again, lenders require information about your equity, your profitability, your cash flow. Those are things that weigh in the decision on approving loan applications or lines of credit. Next slide. So record keeping is important for lease arrangements. About half of the country farmland or ranches is now rented or leased. For beginning farmers, that's usually a great thing to do. Crop or livestock lease shares require appropriate and reliable records to look at the cash share on your leases and make sure it's adequate, and to see whether or not you want to renew that lease the next year, or if you want to rent, if you need to do something differently. Next slide. Participation in government programs. Programs include things like crop insurance, the federal crop insurance, and they require documentation. You have to provide a good set of your farm or ranch records. in disaster time, the deficiency payments is usually based on your proven farm yields. That weighs in. So if you have documentation of your yields over a period of time, that helps. All right, next slide. A good record keeping system has a business checking account. You pay all bills. We suggest all bills be paid by check. Use petty cash for small expenses, and then make frequent deposits. So you'll have those deposit slips that support the entries in the checkbook. Next slide. If you don't have if they don't have a business checking account, you certainly want to encourage them to have a business checking account. A business checking account allows all business transactions to be well documented. If you have a small business with only a few transactions, a combination or check record system is available. Next slide. Again, pay all bills by check. You mark on each check what was purchased, and this is a record for your bill paying, and it helps you to look at expenditures. Next slide. Deposits, don't keep cash or checks lying around. It can invite theft or loss. Make frequent deposits and put your money to work for you immediately. Make those deposits. Next slide. You do want to support entries, canceled checks, paid bills, duplicate deposit slips. Those are items that support the entries in your records, and they can be filed in an orderly manner and stored in a safe place. Let your bank help you with your records by providing documentation of income through deposits and expenses. Requirements of a good system: simplicity, accuracy, timeliness, consistency, and it must be simple, reliable, and complete. Those are all the components of a good record keeping system. There are several accounting systems that can be purchased and adapted to specific businesses, and so find one that's suited and designed for your business. Next slide. There are two basic accounting systems, the single entry and the double entry system. They can be found in different standardized bookkeeping stores. You could find them in a lot of stationery stores. They're computer record keeping systems that's also available. So have to look at what works for you. Next slide. The single entry record keeping system. This system uses cash receipts journal and a cash disbursement journal in addition to the checkbook. The cash receipts journal records all the cash you receive, and it has a column for various categories of receipts with a line for each receipt, including the date, the source of the cash, and the total amount. The column categories may be departments or types of merchandise or types of service or whatever classification makes sense for your particular business. Next slide. All right, the single entry system, the column categories could also include merchandise for resale, supplies, interest, rent, salary, and again, or whatever classification makes sense for your particular business. All right, we're down to the summary. So we looked at what is a working definition for record keeping, the purpose of record keeping, the benefits of record keeping, types of records, records for tax purpose, and simple techniques for record keeping. And that's the end of the presentation. Yeah, next slide.
Oh, there was another slide. Hold on.
It was a slide, just had my contact information again, so, and that's it. That's the end of the presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Crosby, for your presentation as I try to pull my video back up and turn myself back off. Are there any questions for Ms. Crosby at this time? And I don't think I have seen any questions in the chat box. I will address a statement made by Ms. Diana Padilla to indicate the information that we're talking about, the record keeping book and the coaching guide, all of that will be, we'll capture addresses and things of that nature as a part of the post-test / evaluation process. And that's when we'll capture your address, and we will be mailing this information to you guys at that time. So just to be clear on that. Now, for my audience, do we need a short break before we go into the farm inventory presentation that's going to be done by Carolyn Banks? Her presentation is about 30 minutes long. And if Carolyn is okay, we can press on. But if the team feels like we need a break, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, whoever responds first in the chat box is the decision we're going to make. Yes, just 5 minutes. Oh, sorry, Jay Burke, you were a second too late. So we'll take a 5-minute break, and then we will come back at Eastern Standard Time would be 2:08. And for those of you who are not in the Eastern time zone, just add 5 minutes and I'll just see you in a little bit. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so I am back and we are into the home stretch. Yay. I appreciate you guys staying attentive and staying with us. Ms. Banks, I see you, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up your presentation. Are you ready, my love?
Yes, yes.
Okay, well, here comes the farm inventory presentation, and let me get it to slideshow. And there you are, Carolyn. It's all you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. There you go. You can go ahead to the next slide.
How's this? You want me here?
You're right there.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am going to talk about farm inventory. You've heard about the business plan, and you've heard about the record keeping and the budgeting, and they're all good tools that should use in a farm operation. We conduct borrowers training, as Joy has told you earlier, and it is important for us to instruct or tell the farmers things that should be important, because as you know, most of the farmers, especially the one that we interact with here in Mississippi, most of the farmers, especially the small farmers, they consider farming as a hobby. And we try to encourage them and show them that they should think differently and consider it as a business. So in order for me to get my clientele engaged in when I'm talking in this case, we're talking about farm inventory. The first thing that I would ask that farmer is, first of all, with farm inventory is something that the entire family should be involved with. This is something that you want to get everybody in the household So that's why you have families when they have the children and the wife, everybody involved then is considered as a family business. So the first thing you would ask, what would they do or what would they do in case a fire, a flood, or a tornado, or some other disaster hit their farm operation? And because you want them to put that on their mind to get them to think, because a lot of, we take it for granted as they already know what they would do or what they assume that they would do. But a lot of times they never even thought about some of the things that we talk about until we actually have these conversations with the farmers. The other question that I would ask is, well, do you have a list of all your equipment, or do you have a list of your animals or the buildings or all the other necessities that you have to run your operation? And these are the two questions that any farmer, a farm family, any business that they have, they should be able to answer these questions in case of a disaster. And so this is one reason why the record keeping piece is so important, because the record keeping, it keeps a record of everything that they have. And a farmer should list everything that they have on their farm operation. And whatever they have in their records, it should be also kept on in their inventory. And the next question I would ask the farmer, even if they keep records, because you'll be surprised at the farmers that do not keep records. And even if the ones that keep them, the next question I would probably ask them where you store your records, because you know if there's a disaster or something happens and it's destroyed, and they have all their records and their information on the farm operation, but that get destroyed also. So that's something to make them think. So maybe they need to consider putting, you know, their records in another location other than the farm operation. Next slide, please. So that goes to the point to talk about what is farm inventory. A farm inventory is pretty much a list of all the of what you own on your farm operation that you consider as a value. It's considered as an asset. So that's anything of value that can be sold. Now, the value that you have, you know, they're going to list their equipment, their animals, and everything on the farm operation. But the value that you might hold, that farmer might hold for their operation, is not necessarily it's going to differ from the market value. So they need to understand this. That's why it's so important to keep inventory. So when they're keeping inventory, they want to make sure that they're keeping the price of what items they may have. They want to make sure that they keep up with the year that it was purchased. And a lot of times it's most important when they are purchasing things to make sure that they keep the paperwork on it. And that includes their animals, the equipment, and everything. They want to know what was the value of it at the time, because we know over the lifetime that value of what they buy is going to depreciate. So all that should be included in the inventory. And also, I guess one other question that you would want to ask the farmer is, you'll be surprised, do they actually keep inventory? So that's something to keep in mind. And even if they keep inventory, exactly what are they including in the inventory? Because sometimes farmers that are keeping inventory, they think that only thing that they are keeping in is certain things. They might want to just put their equipment, but they fail to realize they need to include everything that in their inventory. And this is going to be a part of their inventory. And like, again, it also be part of their records as well. You can go to the next slide. Okay, the purpose of the farm inventory. Well, first you want to know, is inventory really a necessity? Is it necessary to even keep a farm inventory? Now, of course it is. Inventory is necessary because it's going to help you monitor what you already have in stock. You're going to keep up with items that what you have in stock. the items that are leaving there and the item, everything that's coming in as well. And so it helps you monitor with the time because it allows you to know what you have to, is it time for you to restock? Or sometimes you may make a decision that you don't need to restock that certain item. So it also used as a tool to help make management decisions as well. Next slide. And that's one of the reasons why farm records are so important, because if the farmer is not keeping records, they need to maintain records. And if they're maintaining, they need to make sure whether they're maintaining them, keeping them in a shoebox, keeping them in folders. Some farmers have them on computers, some mentally. But the thing that you should know as far as keeping records is one thing. To make sure if you're keeping records, you keep them on the operation, but you need to keep them somewhere else. If you keep them on the computer, you need to make sure that you have a backup plan for that computer. Sometimes if that computer goes out, or for some reason you can't get that information off of there, a lot of times you can email, there are ways that you can keep up with. Sometimes you can scan things, keep up with it, email things to yourself, but you need to have more than one way of keeping your records. Records help farmers to manage their farm properly. Also, it's important that they keep up with their records because it helps them to plan and even budget the things so they won't over budget. Records help farmers to have enough information. If they got enough information, then that they know what they have in their inventory. If they know what they have in their inventory, then they know how to proper plan and budget whatever the future needs are. So that's one of the most important things, and that's why the farm records and the inventory goes hand in hand. Next slide, please. Here we're talking about creating a farm inventory. If farmers if they have never had an inventory, I encourage them to create an inventory. Farmers are different. People are different. They do things what's comfortable to them. And I suggest continue to do that. But at least do an inventory on your farm operation at least once a year. And in that once a year, because sometimes it all depends on the size of the operation, but most people do inventory. So if they do it more than once a year, you want to make sure that you include everything that's on that farm operation. Here I got a list of different categories that you might want, that the farmer might want to use. So when they're doing their inventory, that they could put those different, you got your land, your animals, equipment, supplies, machinery, all this. So when they're doing their inventory, they can easily, put them in categories, separate them. It's easy to be able to tell what's leaving out, what's coming in, what's being maintained. So this is a good way of creating a farm inventory. Next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, these are some examples of farm equipment that's usually in the inventory. You can see them here. I won't call them all out, but what's most important about each piece of your equipment is to make sure that you can be able to identify your equipment. That means that you need to be able to use some type of engraver or something so your equipment can have some identification. Because if for some reason that your equipment, is stolen or something happens to it, and it would help the law enforcement or help you locate your equipment. So it's always to make sure that you have some type of identification on your farm equipment. Next slide. Okay, now this here is actually a page for my Mississippi Farm Record book on the inventory, and you will be receiving that book. But this is actually, and it's pretty much self-explanatory. You're gonna make sure that you list everything, the dollar amount, you know, if there's a serial number, some type of identification. Actually, you will be, you know, even when you receive it, you wanna make sure you're keeping up with the condition. So actually the condition when you received it, the day that you received it, who it was, you know, who was made by. So these are, this is something very important. So if you keep this inventory and you make sure that you, when I say keep up with the inventory, that means everything that come in that needs to be on the inventory, but also it's going to be a time when you're going to be taking things away from the inventory because you don't want to keep something on there that's no longer in your stock. So you want to make sure that you're going to eliminate it. But this here will be in the book, so it's a good tool to use. So I advise, you know, for you to encourage your farmers to always use this page here in the inventory. In fact, use the entire book. Next page.
I'm coming, Carolyn. Hold on.
Okay, take your time.
I don't know why my pen keeps sticking. There we go.
Now, there are some advantages and there are some disadvantages of having an inventory. And some of the advantages is making sure that the farm business don't overspend or spend unnecessary money. The other thing is it has the opportunity to, they're able to track products that they are selling or products that they are not selling. Also, if there's some equipment that need repairs on it, they want to make sure, because even with that equipment that they are doing repairs on it, there's a cost to it. So you want to make sure that you keep up with that cost and to make sure that equipment that, the new equipment that you have, the insurance, and that's another thing, to make sure that you have covered some type of insurance. Anytime you get new equipment, you want to make sure that that equipment is properly covered with some type of insurance. So when the insurance renews, you want to make sure that all that equipment that's not on there. And this gives you another opportunity to look at your inventory. Next page. Filing a claim on there. When conducting equipment inventory, there are some things that detailed record of each tool that you want to make sure that you include. You want to make sure you know that the date that it was purchased. And if you can keep all the paperwork on all the equipment, that would be great. Make sure that you have somewhere that you can store it in a box. But also when you have receipts, make sure that you store them in a box, but make sure that you have more than one copy. I'm a believer in that. If you scan every receipt, because sometimes paper not like it used to be, sometimes it fades. It's not like it used to be a long time ago. So when you make a copy or scan it, and make sure that you have an additional copy. It eliminates the replacement value. And then you want to make sure that, you know, if there's a serial number ID, and of course you want to make sure that you know the model number, the brand, and the year. So when you file an insurance, this is some of the information that you're going to need. So you make sure you keep up with that paperwork. Next slide. Now, there are some disadvantages of having a farm inventory. We know that doing an inventory on any farm operation is time consuming. It might be time consuming, but it's necessary. So it's necessary to make sure that you put the time and the effort to know what's on your farm operation, because you never know when something might happen. And if you're there, and not only just for in the case of a disaster, but even when someone might come to your operation and take things, steal things, and if you don't have anything recorded, you'll never miss it. when you have small business and sometimes they'll fit if it's a small amount and your products are limited in, maybe there's not a need, for a farm inventory, but you still at least need to know what's there. Maybe your inventory may not need to be as, as much, but you need to make sure you know what's in your inventory. And usually at this point that I usually ask the farmers, even though I said that time consuming and because of the limited products that might have, I also give them the opportunity to interact with me when I'm talking to the farmers, to ask them. Might be some things that they want to add. And what I've learned over the years talking to farmers, we are, as educators, we inform them and we provide them different information, but the farmer teaches us as well. I learn a lot from farmers, just how they are operating their business, even when they're interacting with each other. And we have those, when we conduct those meetings, they learn from each other because they get ideas from each other. So that idea can be shared ideas that they can take back and use on their own operation. Next slide. Now, there is a such thing as a disadvantage of holding too much inventory on hand. And the major disadvantage of too much inventory is because whereas you using that fund that you bought for what's in there, it actually ties up monies that you can be doing something else for your operation. It also, it prohibits you from using it in other places. So that's one of the things of being disadvantaged. So you don't want to have too much, it's not good. Also, when you're having too much in there, other things that cause for theft. And I always go back to that, to the theft, because if you're not keeping inventory, you really don't know what that you have in your operation, and that's why it's so important. Next slide. Now you have inventory management and you have inventory control. And what inventory management is, actually, it is sure that you have the right amount of inventory available. It's making sure that the inventory is paid on time. And at some point, you want to make sure that you order. So it's certain, you want to make sure you order on time. And having a large inventory, you want, if, like I said, it would have too much, which would cause theft. And also, when you have the large inventory, it also creates a damage risk. But having a low inventory can cause a low output. So you have to make sure that you keep it on that level. So some farm operations, they track inventory differently. Some track it manually. And when they have large operations, usually they use some type of software. But if you have a small operation, you can basically just use your record book. What we do, we have give the farmers a kit, everything that they need to use in their farm operation to help them keep up with their records and their inventory. Also, the inventory control, it's just a process. It's a process that actually is during the time when you're purchasing something, when it's converted over. So the similarities of the two is both of them is essential in the inventory of the business. Now, what's the difference between the two of them is that when the inventory management is to maintain what you have in your inventory, but the inventory control is the process in managing the stock. So once that is arrived at whatever location, so you want to make sure that you have the management side, managing, and then also once you manage it, then you being able to control it. Next slide. Okay, here are the definition, 3 different definitions of inventory control, which you got the general sense, which actually inventory control is a method where all stocks of goods are properly issued, accounted, preserved in the best interest of the entity that handles the inventory. But then also there's a business term where inventory control is a method designed by the top level of management of a company and requires strategy decision to be taken for effective implementation. Its proper implementation is the responsibility of the store manager. And then there's the academic side, whereas inventory control is the method of identifying stocks and goods, which is used for the production of finished goods. Now, these are the definition of inventory control. But if you look at it, these are three ways that you can look at it: the general sense, the business sense, and then you have that academic. But all in all, when it comes to the farm operation and inventory, it's very important to make sure that everything is included. Because we want, as farmers, we want to look at it the business side. So we want to make sure that we have everything, that a farmer has everything in inventory, because they are not running a hobby farm, they're running a business, and that's the way it should be ran, as a business. Next slide. And basically these are just the resources here. Next slide. Any questions? And basically inventory is just really a part of your record keeping, even prior to you doing your inventory. If you keep your records, like I said earlier, your record keeping and your inventory is gonna go hand in hand. So it's important to keep inventory. It's important to make sure that you encourage farmers to keep an inventory. And basically, that's it as far as inventory. So, you know, it's really simple, real simple to do. And that's it. So I didn't take long, did I, Joe?
No, you did good. My timer is still going. And I think our class is going to be happy because we still have 30 more minutes. So I guess we could do a line dance or something real quick. You have 46 seconds left on your 30-minute timer. So what I'm going to say, because I don't like to tie up anybody's time, I just kind of want to recap where we've been. We started with FSA, and they talked about their loans that they have and their outreach initiatives. And then we rolled into the presentation about business planning and the role that the business plan plays with the farmers. And it's our understanding that farmers don't want to do a business plan, but according to McCarty, it's something that has to be done. Then we had our farm record keeping and budgeting presentation. And then we concluded with Carolyn talking about farm inventory. So those are 4 different components that we covered today. Hopefully the material gets you to a position where you're kind of getting comfortable with the topic that was brought to you. Are there any questions that you have for any of our presenters at this time? And I'm going to wait about a minute. If there's not any questions, class is dismissed. We will resume tomorrow for part 2, and we will start at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, and in the Pacific, I believe that would be 9 a.m. So I really appreciate you guys being awesome students. I want to thank all of my presenters for taking time out of their busy schedule to present. And you will see most of all of us tomorrow. Class dismissed. Thank you, everyone.